thank you for jumping on. I'm super excited to have you on Real Estate Homies. We are live. It's episode 6. So it's been a fun to do this podcast so far. But when we met in Orlando, it's safe to say we hit it off pretty
Oh
quick.
yeah, no
So
doubt, no doubt. It was a blast. It was a good time.
yeah, man. I would kind of want to open up with that. Like, what'd you learn from the event, man? What did you take away from that event? It was a Tom Ferry event. It was, to me, phenomenal. But what were you able to get from it?
Yeah, so man, I'm really more of like a phone warrior type dude. Like it just kind of it's how I build my business, and then over the years, it's turned into referrals. So like social media marketing, things like that. Really maximizing ad spend. It's something I do for the agents here in the office, or something that we do as a company. But personally, like you're not going to find me plastered all over social media. Like there's not a lot of stuff of mine that's going to go viral. You're going to go to my social media, it's going to be me and my dog, but that's my brand, right? It's like I'm just kind of I'm not the guy that's going to walk in a suit and be like, hey, this is how this is done. Or, it's just but it is something that I know I need to implement, take your business to the next level. So I got a lot out of Jason Pantana's section. It was a ton of information. It was like drinking through a fire hose for somebody like me who doesn't really do it. So, but that was really probably the biggest takeaway for me were his segments.
Yeah, what I loved about Jason, man, is he teaches it high level, like he's explaining it, but then like they actually like you're pulling up your laptop.
Oh
And
yeah,
he's
they're like, let's go. We're implementing it.
Yeah, he's walking through the crowd with you, going one by one with like, man, there had to be like 300 to 500 people there that he's walking through, making sure everybody's got it under control. So that was really awesome to be able to see that because it is very technical. So to be able to do that was pretty badass. But
right,
I brought you here today to talk about your journey, man, because you said it right there in the beginning. You're a phone warrior, and I knew that from our convo at the event. And that is something that's extremely important when it comes to starting your real estate business, whether you're a new agent that didn't have a sphere, or even maybe you built your sphere up, but you're trying to expand it even more and you have the time to do so, right?
Right.
So talk to me a little bit about what you've accomplished in real estate in 2021 and where you're currently at in 2022.
Okay, so 2021. So my market's a little bit of a smaller market. Our average price point's right at like two. I want to say for everyone in the MLS, it's like 230. My office is at 270, right? So you got to do heavy sides to really hit volume numbers. 2021, I finished 43 sides at 11 million in production. That was myself, and I have a TC.
Love it.
Yeah. So in 2022, so 2022 right now, Q1, I'm at 3 million closed with 3 million pending for that's my projections 30, 60 days.
Gotcha. Sounds like you had a good Q1 then.
Yeah, it was huge. I mean, I had some commercial deals that I had been working since the end of 2021 that finally came to fruition, a hotel that needed to get off my books. So some things, I mean, you know how it is. You get a lot of layover from what you did. That's what we tell all our agents. Whatever you did yesterday, get you paid tomorrow. So, and so that was, real heavy-handed Q1, which was great, but we haven't really slowed down in our market. So, I mean, we're not seeing anything. There's no lead indicator for us that makes us think that 2022 is going to back off any different than 2021 was. So.
Well, it doesn't sound like it. Sounds like you're on pace to actually go up, right?
Yeah, to exceed.
Right, you're going to exceed what you did last year. So that's awesome. Kudos to you, man. That's badass. But what about the beginning? I know it hasn't always been rainbows and butterflies.
No, it has not.
Now you're not from Lafayette, right? Where are you from?
No, so I was actually raised in Keady, Texas, just west of Houston. My parents live in the Austin area now. And so I went to school in Louisiana. So when I got into the business, it's not that I didn't necessarily have a sphere, didn't know people, but I didn't have, family to lean on for, kind of those gimmies when you first get into the industry. And all my friends, even my closest friends, guys that, I stood in their weddings. One of my closest friends had been in real estate when I started 7 years ago. He had already been in it for 8 years. So we had so much sphere crossover that it was like, if you had the choice to choose a guy that you've known, that has been in the industry for a day that you're good friends with, or you have a choice to, go with a guy that's been doing it for 8 years, who you're also good friends with, back's kind of against the wall with that competition. And look, the other side of that is it's not just that he's been in it for 8 years. He's great at what he does. He's a good agent, so that was really, really tough. I mean, it was an uphill battle when I first started, which is why, I took to the phones, which is why I was like, you
Yep.
know what? It's time to find people that don't know me, don't know him, and I'm going to go fight for business. I'd rather go up against other people that don't know either of us, even if I am going up against another agent, I trust myself, for that predisposition of your friends and family wasn't there.
Gotcha. That actually is a great scenario. So in your scenario, you had it where you guys had it sphere crossover. So you
Right, right.
decided, let's not even mess with this crossover. If people come to me, they come to me through my sphere, but there's no point in competing against your buddy. So why not just let it all naturally happen and then go find another avenue to acquire business and expand your sphere? So that's why
Right.
you took it to the phones.
Absolutely. And look, and I knew and I believed in my ability that eventually that crossover would start to break down. And we'd end up not taking business from each other, but our sphere crossover would start to really kind of show, hey, you know, I'm just as good. I'm still, you know what I mean? And I knew eventually that would get there. But when you're that first year, it's just really tough to pull business from an 8-year veteran who's good at his job and is equally as friends, you know what I mean? Has that equal relationship. So yeah, I knew it would eventually get there, but I just knew that first year it needed to be. I needed to build a business with a different pillar.
Gotcha. So now, was your initial jump right into there with Jim Keady and jumping in on Keady Real Estate, or how did that work?
Yeah, man. So I owned a business before I got into real estate, and Jim had an agent here, and her mother was my CFO at the time. And so
Mm,
she's the one that said we were just casually talking one day, and she said, I mentioned that my ex-wife and I were going to be looking for a house, and she had said, well, my daughter works at Katie as an agent. Why don't you take a meeting with her? And that was kind of all she wrote. I mean, I started working with that agent. We went through the whole home buying process. I loved it. I was like, man, I could do this. And fast forward a few months, I'd gotten licensed, and then next thing you know, I met with Jim, and I did the interview process and got hired on by the end of the year. So I
love
haven't
that. Love that.
haven't been anywhere but Katie since I started. So
Yeah, and honestly, to no surprise, because literally everybody on the team is just like, it just seems like a
yeah,
it's tight niche company. Everybody there is like fam at this point. It seems like so.
yeah, no
It's
doubt.
cool to see that. You don't see that everywhere. You could feel it immediately when you hanging out with y'all. So,
We
um,
definitely do culture-based hiring. So
yes,
yeah,
yes,
you buy into the culture or it doesn't work. So we can train you
yeah.
to be a good agent. We can't train you not to suck. So
Hey, I think I made the cut. I think I made the
yeah, no,
cut.
you definitely did. You definitely did. You're Katie by proxy now.
Yeah, I love it. So I want to kind of dive into that journey on the phone, right? Because
Okay.
that's what you said. You built up your business. I think a lot of people get value from your insight and experience there. So, like, when it came to like cold calling, were you calling like online leads? What were some of these lead sources you were calling in the beginning?
Okay, so the way it worked for us was Jim basically gives you every tool to succeed. So if you fail, you know it was on you. So basically, so one of those avenues is we use Boomtown for our CRM. I'm sure some of your other agents around, that you have on your podcast have used different ones, but we use Boomtown and we buy leads for our newer agents, and those leads go into a pond. And we get I had at the time I was doing manual dials, like it was literally sitting there picking up the phone, having to dial whatever. Now, once Jim was like saw how committed I was to the phones, he invested in Mojo Dialer, 3-line dialer, and I could just sit down and just roll with it. And now it's a requirement for our agency's Mojo. So we've really gone. I mean, it used to be when you were sitting there, there's nothing worse than like having it's bad enough to have a bad phone day, but now have one where you had to manually dial every single number, wait for it to ring, then get your no, and then still have to do it again, right? The 3-line dialer now keeps you rolling.
Yeah,
So,
talk to me about the Mojo Dialer a little bit, because a lot of people may not know what that is, and there may still be
okay.
manually calling.
Yeah, no. So if you are still manually calling, I highly, highly suggest you look into Mojo and see if it integrates with your CRM. So Mojo Dialer it's an automated system. It's not like you have to sit on any specific phone. You call a number, whether you could do it from your cell phone, you can do it from your call phone, whatever. So you call a number and it basically taps in, it links up with all your leads that you imported into the list. and it goes through and 3 lines are ringing at one time. And if somebody picks up, it hangs up the other 2 lines. And then it starts right back up again and just keeps rolling. I mean, I can knock out 200 calls in a couple hours,
Wow.
and so it is a game changer if you were spending time on the phone, that's the way to do it.
So let's talk about that deeper. So two things that immediately pop up is one, do you leave voicemails in the event that you're making this many phone
Nope.
calls? No
Nope.
voicemails.
Voice a
Why?
voicemail is a waste of time, because if you get a voicemail from me and the first thing out of my mouth is, "Hey, this is Tony Cobarrubia with Keady Real Estate," click, it's a waste of time. Right? What I'd rather do is you see a number you don't know and call back. Be like, "Hey, I had a missed call." "Oh, hey, yeah, this is Tony with Keady Real Estate. I saw you were searching on our site." Now I've got you. Right? And all I need to do is get you to talk to me for 5 seconds, and I'll find out if you're serious. I can get your motivation, and I can make sure that if you are motivated, let's dig deep. Give me 2 minutes, and I got my hooks in you. So
Gotcha. So that was my second question. My second question ended up being, what did that look like? Because you don't kind of know, like, it's not like you're analyzing your CRM and going, oh, this person came in through this source and they
yep.
clicked on this and they looked at that. So what's your script when you're doing those like kind of speed dialing?
Don't overthink it. So here's the thing. I don't look at anything on a profile before I dial. I put everybody in. I start making my dials. Austin answers the phone. I'm like, now all I have to do is click on your name on Mojo and it brings up your file on Boomtown. And I just sit there and I'm like, "Hey, Austin, it's Tony Cobarrubia with Keady Real Estate. I saw you were on our website. I just wanted to make sure you were finding everything helpful and easy to use." Right? There's no way if you say no right there, now I get to ask you, how do I fix it? If you say yes right there, now it's a lead in to go, "Okay, awesome. Well, look, if you're finding everything helpful and easy to use, I see you're looking at homes in Youngsville. Is that the area you want to stay in?" Right? I'm looking at your profile. I know exactly what you're looking at. So before you even give them a chance, you keep them reeling until they're finally like, "What is actually happening here?" Because people don't get defensive until they feel like they're in control. And so if you
Right.
never give them the opportunity, you just keep them reeling with really easy questions, kind of soft tosses. Now the next one is you start digging in for what's your motivation, what's your timeline. When you filled out your questionnaire, it says here you were looking in the next 3 to 6 months. Is that still your timeline? Oh, well, now you start finding out real objections if they exist, or you start finding out like, well, yeah, 3 to 6 months because I need to be out of a lease. Okay, now I have something. So, because now people are either moving towards a pleasure or they're moving from a pain, right? So we need to figure out what that is and be the solution to that.
That was gas. That was good.
Yeah.
So where did you learn some of these, like, what you're speaking is fundamental sales? And so, like,
Right.
is this something you got through coaching? Is there a certain program you were in? What does that look like? How did you learn your sales tactics?
So before we were part of the Tom Ferry ecosystem, we were part of the National Association of Expert Advisors. And it was a mastermind kind of similar to Tom Ferry, not nearly as involved, but they focused real heavily on script work. And so we built and then tweaked our scripts around what we learned there. And then, like I said, Jim gives you all the tools to succeed. So all our new agents meet with Jim's old speech coach, actually from high school, Miss Surratt. And so she comes in, she sits with all the new agents, and she runs scripts with you, and she like hammers it out. I mean, we've built. I guess it's been 3 years now since we've really changed up and perfected the scripts, and it's everything from buyer presentation scripts, listing presentation scripts, and phone scripts. And then we hang them inside the open dialers, just in case the new agents need a quick, objection handling. They're all laminated, sitting there, the top 10 objections we get and what your pivot is. So, I mean, it's all right there. I mean, it's like anything else. Do it 1,000 times, becomes habit, so that's pretty much where it is, what we do with it.
So what would you say? All right, because a lot of people that actually work with us at Dippidi, we do a few different campaigns, but one that we do that's tended to be pretty successful if people actually call the leads consistently is
Right.
doing like a home search campaign. So people looking for properties, for sale in a certain marketplace or a certain zip code or neighborhood on
Right.
Google. And so that, let's say that lead came into your database, does that script to you look like similar to what you had already done? Or what's that kind of look like from uncovering it and trying to make that lead, like, learn what their intentions are?
Yeah. So for me, my script is pretty much going to stay the same no matter what, because I'm not going to give myself a reason the scripts keep me in control of the conversation because I know them inside and out. I know everything about them. And like I said, when you start fumbling, if you start trying different things to specifically identify with this very person, then they have control. You're losing the things you know, right? And so I don't really pivot off of my script until I start getting objections, because once I handle those objections, the way they move forward, if you just get hit with rejection, or objection, right? Then most likely that's a lead whose motivation is lower on the scale, right? That's the guy who, when you walk up to him, when somebody's at the store, he's looking at pants, and a guy walks up to him and says, "Do you need help?" He's like, "Nah, I figured it out myself," right? Like, that's who you're dealing with. And sometimes those leads aren't worth the constant calling. So what those leads though are worth is a circle back, because what you tell them at that point, if you're just getting nonstop objections, right? Okay, hey, look, Austin, I completely understand where you're coming from. Why don't I do this? I'm going to let you have some time. I know you're just looking. You say you're just looking. That's what my site's for. Go ahead and continue to look. And what I'll do is I'll set up a call back to you to make sure that you found what you're looking for in the next 2 to 3 months. He says, yeah, okay, that sounds great. You make a note in their file. The beauty of that is, over the course of the next couple of weeks, you can see how active they are on the site. If he's on there every single day, I'm not waiting 2 months to call you back, right? I'm calling you back in 3 weeks, and I'm going to be like, hey, Austin, remember, hey, Austin, you told me to call you back in a few weeks whenever you don't remember what the hell you had for lunch. So you certainly don't remember how long it was you told me until you call you back, right? So if you're super active, I'm calling you back and I'm telling you, you told me to call you. And you're like, you're kind of like, damn it, did I? I don't, well, yeah, okay, yeah, no, yeah, okay, now I need help. I found something, but I lost out on it, whatever. And now if he's super motivated, now you got it, right? Because
right,
it looks
so he
like,
started off hesitant, and now because you're able to track and see their activity, you're able to know, like, I'm calling this guy back. Like, so would you say that that's an important thing to do in the CRM, is like, when a lead comes in, look at their activity? Do you have any certain lists that you build that show you the activity, or what's that look like?
Boomtown does it for you. So you can sort your leads by category. You can sort your leads by last visited the site. You can sort their leads by last time I contacted you. So some of the agents in the office, they like to go, well, I haven't spoken to these leads. They reverse it backwards. When was the last time I spoke to a lead? If it's been too long, I don't want to lose them. So they go by who was the most recent touch, and go backwards from there. I go by how active are you on the site? So if you've last visited, in the last 3 days, and you've done so multiple times, and it's been 2 or 3 weeks since I've talked to you, I'm calling you. Gotcha. Right? Because to me, it's like, at that point, and I'm calling you, and my to-do for your callback might not be for another month, but I'm telling you, hey, you told me to give you a call to check in and make sure that this, that your process was still going along in the same timeline. Has anything changed? You know what I mean? Gotcha. And then now I'm following up with you because you told me to. And so
gotcha.
It's a completely different conversation at that point, because right. You're giving the illusion of representation before you have representation, right? They're like, oh yeah, my agent called, right? And he in his head, he hasn't even realized, like, oh, he's not technically working for me. I can still interview, right? But if I'm the one you're constantly hearing and talking to about real estate, when the time does come to pull the trigger, in your mind, I'm already your agent.
Yes. I love that. So Mojo Dialer, let's talk that, because your world was totally different until you got the Mojo Dialer.
Oh my gosh.
You do some of the phone calls based off of activity. So when you go in, if it's like 8 a.m., what's your day kind of look like when you're making calls? Are you calling from 8 a.m. to 11? Are you calling from 8 to 5? Like, what's your days look like when you don't have business and you're making phone calls?
So if I have no business at all, I have two basically categories that I call. One is with a single line Mojo Dialer, and one's with a 3-line. Okay. So my general practice, if I had zero business, this is when I first started out and I had nothing working. I was in the office at 7 and I was starting my dials at 7:30. Some people say that's too early. For me, you get one of two people, right? You either get the person that's like, this is too early, whatever. Guess what? If you're pissed off at me for calling you at 7:30 in the morning instead of 8 o'clock, I was never going to convert you anyways, right? No harm, no foul. But you also get those people that are wanting to think about anything else except the work traffic that they're stuck in. And so they're like, even if it is just to talk real estate or just to maybe throw out potential timelines, they don't have anything in front of them. They just want to go, yeah, I was looking at that, but I was really just looking for a friend. Awesome. What's your friend's name? Whatever. Right. And so And I find that 7:30 to 9:30 because you get 7:30, you get the 7:30 to 8 people, or the people driving to work that have to be at work by 8. And then you get anyone that's going to answer from 8 to 9:30, or the people, your stay-at-home moms that just dropped off the kids. You're going to get those guys that get to the office, don't have to do anything till 9. But they get there a little early, try to get themselves in the groove. So I think that's a really fresh window to get when you're just cold calling out of the pond, load up 250 people, you don't care who they are, and dial. Right. So that was my process for that one. Like early on, it is what it is. Get them before they're worn out and beaten down by work.
Gotcha.
Because
now you say 250 people that you don't care who they are, as in like you went into the database, which might have
8,000
10,000
leads,
plus
10,000 leads. Yeah.
And you just said, all right, how did you make that list of 250? Or do you, in Mojo, do you select?
No, I just go last visited the site, and I take the top 250 and I load them up.
Gotcha.
Like, I mean, if you've been on the site recently, to me, that shows interest, or that shows some motivation. It's not a straight cold call, right? Because some people will go, I mean, you know about this, they'll go to a lead, or they'll go to a website because they saw an ad, and they'll never return to the website. That's not, you know what I mean? That to me is a wasted dial. Not always, but the conversion on those is substantially low. If you're consistently on the site, even if it is just looky-loo because real estate's interesting, I'm fine with that too. You're the type of person I want to hear from anyway, because when you are looking at things, and when you do finally find something, or if you're the type of person that is a looky-loo on real estate, when your friends are looking, they're the ones you're who they're going to go to. Right. And so you're still a person I want to make sure knows my name, knows my company, and all that stuff. So.
Gotcha. Now, do you feel like you've done any like tracking note, like obviously throughout your career, you've done a ton of calls. I mean, I can't even imagine how many calls do you think you've made?
Oh, Jesus. I mean, I probably made 5,000-6,000 just last year. And I was heavy listing referrals last year. But it's just like, I mean, it's just one of those things where we track everything though. And the reason being is I can track what every phone conversation, what every spoke to is worth in dollars. So that way I can show the agents like, hey, if you tell me you want to make $100,000 a year, we have 37 agents in our office, and we mandate phone duty for everybody. So I can sit there and go, okay, this is the pool of all the tracked phone calls, right? This is the pool of all the tracked spoke tos. This is the pool of all the tracked appointments. We can reverse it back to how many closings is it going to take on average for you to hit your number goal? How many appointments does that take? How many spoke tos does that take? And how many dials does that take? We can back it all the way up to your phone calls. And then we let them break it out by day. You know what I mean? So it's not, you look at that huge number of dials, you get overwhelmed. Okay, well, if you're going to work 50 weeks out of the year, 48 weeks out of the year, this is how many per week. If you're going to work 5 days a week, this is how many per day. It's not as daunting now, right? It's not as daunting now.
So what does that look like? So that you guys have seen, obviously it's your market, your numbers, your data, but like how many dials is somebody needing to make in order to make $100,000 a year that you guys have seen statistically?
So for us, it's going to be, you have to take, it's a little different because everybody's got they negotiate their own splits. We're not like a flat split kind of company. So, but I can give you the percentages. It's 25% spoke to, like you have a 25% dialed spoke to rate. Right? We know off top, 25% is going to be bad fake information. And then we know a lot of them are just not going to answer numbers that they don't know. And then we know our dial to spoke to is 25%. Okay. So from there, we know that our spoke to appointment ratio for an agent that's been in the market longer than 2 years, right? Because you're early on, you're dialing more cold leads instead of, right? So your spoke tos are going to be a little shifted. We know it's about 40% spoke to appointment. And then your appointment, once you get that appointment, your appointment to close ratio is going to be individualized on the agent, right? So we just go by percentages, and we sit down and we show them and say, okay, your commission split is this, average sale price in the market is this, which means the average commission is this. And we show them with those percentages, those metrics, here's how many dollars you have to make $100,000 a year.
So you're basically saying you generate 100 leads, 25% of those leads are you're not going to be able to get a hold of. So you're only going to get a hold of
25 of those leads probably gave us fake information. So now we're only dealing with 75. So and again, you got to remember, these percentages go up. We have a mandated 14 dial touch before we trash a lead. So
14 dials. Not so many people get that so messed up, man, where they see the word touches and then they set
yeah,
up like action plans with texts and
no,
emails, and they're like,
no,
"Oh, well, I mean, that's doing it for me. I have no conversions. This sucks. These leads suck." Right?
right,
Like,
no. If you sent me a lead from an ad that you created, like if Dippidi had created and I said, hey guys, I want 100 leads based on these parameters, and you sent them to me, those 100 leads would get called either A, until we speak to them, or B, if you're not going to answer the phone, it's 14 dials before we trash you.
why 14? Is that just the number you found,
14
or
14's the number. So if you go look, there's actually we have a graph that shows the percentages of answers based on how many dials, and it tapers at after 14, like 14, 15, the percentage doesn't change, but it grows exponentially from dial 1 all the way up to 14. So that's our number.
Where's the usually the honey hole, you'd call it, like where it's like
About
right there
six
where
or
it's like the
about 6 or 7, they're finally like, okay, yes, I need your help, or Jesus, what do you want? So it's usually about 6 or 7 that they'll get it. Now they do get some of those leads like rotate between agents, right? So if I'm on floor time from 9 to 12, right, and I'm called, let's say 50 new leads had come in, and 30 of them don't answer. When you come on from 12 to 3, those 30 go to you, and you're going to dial the same 30. So these people are getting touched 3 times. It's 14 touches over the course of, you'll probably get there in a week, Monday through Friday. You know what I mean? Because it's 3 shifts. If everybody's making their calls and doing it the right way, you're going to hit your 14 touches really quick. And so we'll know if you're trash or not. Like if we should trash that lead. You're not trash, Austin. I love you.
So,
but if the lead is a trash lead.
So let's play a little numbers game. So based off of your numbers, you guys say you get 100 leads. Yes. 25 of them are not good, right? They're not going to be good information.
Right.
And so then,
but we'll speak to 25.
25 of those 100 or 25 of the 75, 25%.
Yeah, so 100, we know 25 is going to be bad information. That's going to be going right off the bat. Okay. And then we know statistically we'll end up speaking to 25. Okay. So now the middle 50, we don't know where they're going to land. So we put them back in the pond, and that way we can circle back in 6 months or a year, because the information's good. They just decided not to answer. So our 25 spoke to. Now of those 25, 40% of them will be able to set an appointment with at some point in time.
Gotcha. Now, some point in time, meaning that's a great ending to that sentence.
Yes, because everybody thinks, oh, I spoke to them. 40% of these are going to set an appointment tomorrow. No, this is a nurture game. Real estate success on the phone is in the follow-up. I mean, that's just, it is what it is. You call them once. I mean, sometimes you get lucky with one of those, right? And they're like, yeah, I'm ready to go right now. Let me set an appointment with you. But a lot of times it's that conversation we had earlier. Well, look, man, I completely understand. You're just looking right now. That's what the site's for. How about I set a note to follow up with you 2 weeks, 2 months, whatever it is. Right. But your money's in your nurture, right? I'll put it this way. You can make a good living dialing a ton of times one time, but rich agents, they follow up. That's where it is. Once you've touched them, think about that. You've eliminated 75% of your dials if you focus on your nurtures, right? Because you've already spoken to them. They've already taken your call. They've given you the reason to call back. There's at least some motivation, right? Why would I keep beating my head against the wall over here when I know that if I just continue to nurture, even if it's just, once every quarter, eventually you just want to stay top of mind. And it's not always a real estate call, right? So we have Mardi Gras out here. So we throw a big Mardi Gras bash or whatever call. We tell our agents, take credit, pass blame, right? Hey, I'm throwing this party for Mardi Gras, and I'd love to see you out there. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, man, okay, yeah, that's kind of cool. I'll be out there, whatever. They hadn't even met you yet. But that first face-to-face meeting was because you invited them somewhere. It's huge. And it makes, and again, you're building that rapport, and you're dropping those subliminal hints that I'm your agent before I'm really your agent.
Are you telling me that you can close deals at the Mardi Gras?
I have closed deals at Mardi Gras.
That is I see. I'm ready to come out for the 30th and do the red dress run, man. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it.
But we're gonna be out there.
So things have evolved for you though, right? Because now you're an associate broker.
Yeah. And
So how does that all happen?
I don't know. I think I just annoyed Jim enough to finally just be like, Jesus, the guy's here all the time. No, so he gave me, we work really well together, Jim and I. So it was one of those things that, we're opening a Covington office also together. We're expanding out in Covington, not Lafayette. So we'll have our second office out there. Basically, what it is it was who wants responsibility, and I kind of was like, I do, and it just kind of grew into that. So it started as I was an agent, and then I kind of became a team lead, helped him with trainings and stuff like that. Then I started going on more of these events with him, more of these conferences, and really just bouncing ideas off of each other. I mean, 3-hour plane rides, and you're sitting there, bouncing ideas off each other the entire time. It's kind of organically turned into a partnership. And then, over the last few years, it's just basically he kind of gives me the keys to the car when he's got to be out of town, and it gives him more time with his family. So it's been kind of a joint venture. It's been exciting.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I could see it immediately, like the hustle, everything at the event, the Tom Ferry event in Orlando, man. Like you guys hustle. I mean, how
Oh
many
yeah,
how many transactions? I believe you guys are 800 plus that you did in 2021 as an entire
2021.
brokerage, right?
Yeah, 831 deals for about 223 million, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
So your transaction coordinator is getting it. They are
Oh,
at get at,
we have five now. We had
yeah.
one, and she was just like drowning. So,
Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah. She's like, you guys got to stop. Leave
you
me
guys
like,
got to stop. Yeah,
yeah.
but our growth was great. I mean, we were kind of plateaued around 500 for a few years, and then it just kind of we made a few minor changes, and it just took off. So.
Yep. Yep. So you made 5,000 phone calls last year as a listing agent, doing commercial work, everything. So what does that look like though? What's your day-to-day shifted since you've made all those calls up front? You were making more than 5,000 a year, I'm assuming, in your
Oh
first few
yeah,
years.
no doubt.
So what has happened from those phone calls?
So those phone calls have created, and I'll tell you the reason people think like, oh, phone duty is just for if you still manage your relationships, because every transaction to me is still a relationship. Even if I got you as a cold call lead, I'm still inviting you to everything. I'm still doing my touches, my 4 touches a year after we close the deal. I'm still checking in with you, to make sure that because we know the metrics are what they are. Everybody knows by some degree of separation, 5 people that will buy or sell in the next 12 months, right? You just
Oh, I thought it was Kevin Bacon.
the 7 degrees Kevin Bacon. That's right. So we know that, and one of those is a pure cold call lead. He came on the site. He's looking at a house. I had no idea who he was. I called him. Guy ends up being a physician transfer. We have a Lourdes, Our Lady of Lourdes out here. We have a training hospital here in Lafayette. He ends up being a neurosurgeon and he's here from New York for the training, wants to buy. He used me to buy a house, sell a house, buy a piece of land, sell that land when he went back to New York. He also referred me every incoming doctor that came into the training program. And through that one lead that I dialed, I had now built out, I think it's a fifth doctor. I just got my fifth doctor from and probably in the ballpark of about $10 million in closed deals. And we just had another one of those same doctors. We just going to list their house, and he wants to upgrade to a new house. And just those two sides will be another about 2 million.
Dude, that's insane.
So it's like, and that's from one call, right? People think that, oh, cold calling, you have to just wear yourself out. No, you can build relationships from the calls that you make.
Right. Well, and you're serving people. I mean, at
Right,
the end of the
exactly.
day, people think it's sales and you're being salesy and all this, but really you're hopping on the phone. And I love your talk track of like, hey, I saw you were looking on the website. Was it helpful or did you have any issues,
Yeah,
operating it? Right. And it's like,
right.
they're going to
It,
spill the
it,
beans there. And then
right.
you're
Is
helping them.
everything right? I'm hoping you're finding everything helpful and easy to use. It's such an easy in, because at that point, like I said, if you say no, I want to be the solution to the problem. So I'm like, oh man, I'm so sorry. What wasn't working for you? What would you like me to change? And if you say yes, I'm like, oh, fantastic. It's good to know that the site's working how it should. I see you're looking in, and then bam, now we're in. It's not a sales pitch. It's a solution to a problem,
Yes. I
right?
love that.
They're on the site for a reason, right? So you don't have to
Yes.
be worried about being salesy. So
Something you talked about was you do 4 touch points with your past clients.
Yeah, every year.
What do those look like? What do those 4 touch points look like?
It can be anything, man. It can be I saw him on Facebook and kid got married. Could be they got a new puppy. Hey, I saw on Facebook you guys got a puppy. What's his name? How are things? Whatever. How's the dog like in the house? Blah blah blah. It can be to invite him to events like Mardi Gras. We do a lot of charity events around town. We have a Maddie's Footprints Gala coming up here in town. So hey, I got some extra tickets. And that's the other thing. I invite my clients to everything because 99% of them are going to say no, but the invite's there. So you spend $1,000 on 10 tickets and invite all your clients. 99% are going to say no. Every once in a while, you'll get a couple that say yes. And the fact that they said yes and talked about, thanks so much, Tony, for taking us to this event, it goes huge. I mean, it is massive. And so those are what my touches look like. It's circling back for any reason to give you a call, but any reason to give you a call that's not to ask for a referral. Now, there are very deliberate ways to ask for referrals. You got to do it. And so at the end of the touch, every once in a while, you just got to throw it out there. Be like, okay, awesome. Well, look, man, it was so good talking to you. I always do it as a joke. Be like, hey, I don't know if you know anybody currently looking to buy or sell, but if you do, don't forget, give my number out like candy on Halloween. And they always just laugh it off, and they're like, okay, awesome. Yeah, no, I'll definitely do that. And then it never fails within a day or two. If you shoot them a text, be like, hey, it was good catching up with you. Oh my gosh, dude, speak of the devil. I just was talking to a buddy and bam. I mean, the amount of times that it's happened is just insane to me.
That's awesome. So it's all in the follow-up though. Same thing there.
Your money's in your follow-up.
I love that, man. Well, it's Monday. I can only imagine your day is insane. So I got one last thing for you, brother. And it's if you were to get a new agent that was in that similar situation as you, where they know they're going to have to make phone calls to generate new business. What are some mistakes that you made in the beginning that you would like highly recommend? Just like, hey, nip this in the ass and do this. So that way you can go ahead and be like light years ahead of where I was. Like if I knew then what I know now type thing.
Right. So 2 things are, first and foremost, you have to understand, and you can read it in any book, the conversion rate for a cold call or even warm call. So we get warm leads because they're coming to our site for a reason, right? It's not like this is not just some list that we're like, hey, you didn't even have anything to do with real estate. Like, these people are coming to the site. So those are more warm leads, but the conversion is low nationally, like painfully low, like 3%. Okay. So first and foremost, stay on it. I mean, you're just going to have to stay on it. And 99 no's and a yes means yes. So you just got to stay with it. That was one of the things where I was like, calling isn't working, so I'm going to go do this instead. And it's real easy. It is really easy to be busy in real estate and not productive. So just stay with it. It would be the first thing. It took me so long to finally just stay consistent and make the calls. And the other thing would be, don't let them snowball. Don't get caught under the snowball. So if you break your metrics down and your dials, once you've run all your numbers, you say, okay, I got to make 40 a day or 50 a day. Well, then you don't make your 40 on Monday. You're like, it's not a big deal. I'll just make 80 tomorrow. No, it's not a big deal. That just means I have to make 120. You better finally figure out a way to make the 120, or don't let the snowball take off. Right? There's no reason you can't take an hour and a half to start your day. Right? And take an hour and a half, start your day with your calls, and then move on with everything else. There are very few things in real estate that have to be at 100% specific time. So if you block off your dial time first thing in the morning, be done by 9. What in real estate can you not do at 9:30 that you could have done at 8:30?
That's like when I go hit the gym in the morning, I always feel so much more accomplished throughout my day. And so it's that same mindset of just, a lot of people don't want to make the calls, just like a lot of people don't want to go to the gym.
Yeah.
So if you do it though, you're like, man, I already did it. Think about how quickly it would motivate your day if you uncovered an opportunity before 9 o'clock
a.m. 9, right? Like, I mean, tell me you're not fired up if you set an appointment by 8:30 in the morning, right? I mean, you think, oh, well, my day's over, going back to bed. Hell no. You're like, shit, I already got one. I'm going after another.
You're slamming that coffee mug and smashing it on your head, dude.
That's exactly right, dude. That's exactly right. So
no, I love it, dude. Thank you so much for jumping on, man. It's been fun. I think a lot of people that have been like thinking about calling or cold calling or warm calling,
yeah.
they're going to get insight out of this. They're going to get your perspective. So thank you, man. I'm super excited to also come out to NOLA here
Can't wait
soon
to see
and
you.
go to your neck of woods, man. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We're excited to have you out here. And look, like I said, when it comes to calls, just take your brain out and make the calls. Don't overthink it. I mean, what's the worst that happens? What's the worst that happens? The beauty of the phone, the worst that happens is they hang up on you.
Yeah.
I mean, or move on with your day.
Give you one MF and then you're done. Right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. All right, man.
Thanks, Tony. See you, dude.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.